G'day, HMR here. And I'm going to answer another comment response. Person left a comment on, I think it was a short that I did, impulse to recontact BPD Ex, question mark. And the commenter said, I guess people are just hoping that the person they fell in love with comes back to them and doesn't want to hurt them anymore. Or maybe they think that they will get some answers as to what actually happened. Just ghosted you, or you're not sure if it's a discard. The relationship ruptured right there. People with BPD have no ability to repair relational ruptures. Ruptures that are maybe even just split to devaluations within a relationship still, no repair of anything, no closure, no answering questions, no making it make sense for you. It's really important to know that the ghosting or the discard, the abuse, the betrayal, that's the end right there. Oh, doesn't feel like it, does it? But it is the end. No matter how many times you go back, it's going to be the first end was the end, and then this time and that time and that time. And this is what leaves people in utter agony, not wanting to live anymore and feeling like there's no way forward. Why they wanted to hurt you in the first place? Do they know what they did was wrong? Are they sorry for what they did? Why do they really hate you when you didn't do anything wrong? This sounds like somebody who's just trying to say, I guess people are just hoping that the person with BPD that they fell in love with will come back to them and doesn't want to hurt them anymore. This is a naive point of view that likely also is a point of view or a hope or the fantasy within the trauma bond that so many with codependency will hold out, will hold on to. Because as a commenter says, you know, like I was talking about in the short, which is part of some video, obviously, right? I don't remember which. When I'm talking about, you're still having that impulse to recontact your BPDX question mark, that's not a healthy thing, but it's something that pretty much everybody goes through after they've been ghosted or discarded or ghosted and not sure if they're discarded, or maybe even a relationship recycle, or you just want to hear from that person again because you formed a trauma bond connection with a good healthy portion, well, unhealthy portion of fantasy bond. And the person with BPD has already shown you that they have betrayed you. So in the trauma bond, we have the fantasy bond aspect of, well, maybe they just, people just hope that the person's coming back and etc. And then the betrayal bond aspect of the trauma bond, they've already betrayed you. They've already treated you terribly. They just ghosted, or maybe they said, I need time and space, which is generally ghosting in a different way. And whether they're on and off, or they've just gone, or it's been quite a while now, or they didn't establish a pattern of coming and going and ghosting and hoovering and all of these different things, well, the impulse to recontact a BPDX after ghosting and or discard is your own self-abandonment, and unfortunately signing up to just go around the same cycle over and over and over again. If they hoover you back, and people with BPD hoover you back for what they need and what they want, it's not about you. And they'll tell you what you want to hear. And so this impulse to get them back or contact them again, it's often coming from people's pain and agony, and not just the questions that the commenter poses, but the questions do play a role, because these are what people are ruminating on and focusing on. Because if you just the first time, especially if you get ghosted or it's off, or they split you to the valuation, rage at you and like say, I don't want to talk to you ever again or whatever, like in the many ways that this can happen, where the person with BPD just betrays you, it just actually abandons you. Well, they feel like you were abandoning them, etc. It's not healthy, but so many people will go through it, unfortunately. And so this person says that they guess it's just because people are hoping the person they fell in love with will come back to them and doesn't want to hurt them anymore. But here's the thing about that. Who did you fall in love with exactly? Because if you start thinking about that, you'll realize you don't really know. You fell in love with who you thought they were, but now, if you've been ghosted, maybe discarded, you're not sure, they told you they need time, any which way they've just sort of like shoved you away, slammed the door closed in your face and said, no, not you anymore, thank you, whether they say that or not, then are you really, if you want to contact the ex or you're hoping they'll come back, are you really expecting that the person that you fell in love with is coming back? Because the person you fell in love with doesn't exist. And that's another thing that goes on in the fantasy bond aspect of the trauma bond, that you really think you can rescue them, save them, change them, get them into therapy, somehow just make them be who you thought they were in that idealization honeymoon phase. But it's not who they were at all. And they weren't even seeing you or hearing you, as I've said in many videos or podcasts. And the commenter then said, or maybe they think they will get some answers as to what really happened. Yes. This is another common reason why people, I mean, they want it to work. They're still in that fantasy idea. It's going to work somehow next time because they're going to be who I want them to be. They're going to be who I thought they were because that's who I love. No, you don't know who you're loving and how healthy is your love because, like, what were you sharing with this person that you don't even know who they are? And neither do they know who they are. And so, yeah, a lot of people want maybe contact, if not to get back, but that's a slippery slope. But the impulse to recontact the BPD Ex to see if you can get some answers to what actually happened. If they're untreated or not well enough treated, and obviously they wouldn't have ghosted you, discarded you, split you to devaluation, and shown you all of a sudden that they're not really who you thought they were. However, most people aren't grasping that right away because codependency, along with the fantasy bond aspect of the trauma bond, is so much denial. But you're very unlikely to get much of an explanation, if anything, if you can get any more contact from the person, the ex with BPD, because you want to find out what actually happened. Untreated, and certainly if they've had some treatment, but like not, they're still doing this kind of behavior, they're not well enough treated. So they actually don't have the answer to why they do what they do. They have lots of things they can make sound good. Most of that's blaming you because you did this and you did that and you said this or you didn't do this and you didn't say that and you didn't really love me. And so I had to, like, I don't want to be with you anymore. They won't even own I didn't want to be with you anymore. They'll be like, you just did this and you did that. And I was like feeling this and you did it. And so if you want to recontact an ex just to find out what really happened, no. You should get into therapy and work on this, and that's how you'll find out what really happened. And then the other question the commenter said was, maybe people just want to know why they wanted to hurt you in the first place. Well, guess what? Most people with BPD who don't have a container self and they don't know themselves, they don't get into a relationship with people or a person, at a time, like with a person to hurt them. It's not what they're thinking about. I mean, are there some out there that are severely impacted, untreated, so jaded, have tried so many things, feel like everybody in the world's hurt them, that they're sort of expecting it to go a certain way, in which case they're ready to eviscerate you and split you to devaluation and mercilessly blame you for everything, like maybe more quickly? Yeah, there's probably some people with BPD like that out there, but it's not everybody. So they're not going to tell you what actually happened. They're not going to be able to explain if they it's not that they wanted to hurt you usually. And they really don't have the awareness, even when you try to tell them, because this never goes well, does it, with an untreated borderline? You're trying to tell them what you're feeling, what you're experiencing, how they hurt you. And they're like, huh? Like, forget it. They defend, they blame you, they twist everything on you, they project on you. They don't hear what you're saying at all because they got nowhere to put that. They're like, what? Like, you felt what? I don't care. You did this to me. You did that to me. It's always like, screw you. You're like, what about me? I'm hurting. They're like, deflect, dissociate, disown, disavow, deny, because they don't know how to care. about how you feel when they're busy worrying about how they feel and trying to cope with that, among other things. And this commenter says, and maybe the other reason people impulsively want to or do recontact borderline X if they can or try to is because, like, to ask the question, do they know what they did was wrong? What do you think? I mean, come on. Generally, no. They're not sitting there worrying about if what they did was right or wrong because they have a justification for everything. Because they're going to blame you for everything. It's not going to be about them. Like, who are you talking about? They don't even know themselves. But they're like, I didn't do that. If you say, well, why did you do this or why did you do you know that the fact that you did or said this to me is wrong? They'll be like, what are you talking about? I didn't do that. You did that. What about? You're the one that did blah, 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 blah. And then I knew you didn't love me, and they might not even put it in that language, but they're going to come up with something to say, unless they say, I don't want to talk to you anymore, never mind, goodbye, and they ghost again or discard again in this case. And another question, a reason to want to talk to the BPD Ex again impulsively often, but like you're trying to get them back and you want to. So another question might be, as this commenter put forward, are they sorry for what they did? Well, what did they do is what they're going to ask you all day long. When they come back for the Hoover, if they want you back, and oh, they might say something like, sorry for whatever I might have done. It won't be a genuine apology. It won't be responsibility taking or taking accountability. It'll be something like, oh, well, I don't know what happened there, but sorry about that. And, I think I understand more now because I was just really pissed. I was just really angry. They'll be minimizing everything if they're trying to tell you what you might want to hear, sorta. But they're not going to own anything because in their minds, in their reality, in their repetition compulsion cycles of reenacting things from the past in the here and now and projecting it out on you and then blaming you for everything, they're going to be like, what? Am I sorry for what I did? No, what did I do? What did I do that I have to be sorry for? What most borderlines will say or be thinking, be like, you're the one who should apologize to me. Oh, it all gets turned around and it's just more crazy making. And maybe another question the commenter says is, why do they really hate you when you didn't do anything wrong? Well, sadly, the answer to that is they put the hate, the vitriol, the anger, the rage, the splitting to the devaluation all on you, projecting out everything they feel that's negative inside of them and everything they've been through in their lives that's hurt them because they don't know how to cope with it. And this is just a reason, not an excuse. They don't know how to cope with it. And the emotional dysregulation is just, it's too much. And they need to throw it at other people to not feel so bad inside. And that's not excusable. Why do they really hate you when you didn't do anything wrong? Well, everybody should have read the book I Hate You, Don't Leave Me, because along with that excellent book, which is an older one, but a good one, lasting and standing up against the test of time. Well, in object relations theory, what we know about borderline personality disorder is, why do they really hate you when you didn't do anything wrong? Because they're not seeing you, they're not hearing you, they don't know how they're impacting you, they don't really care how you feel. They're worried about how they feel because their feelings are annihilating them a lot of the time, especially when triggered to emotional dysregulation. But there's always some churning emotional dysregulation inside an untreated person with BPD. And it's always just waiting to meet its trigger. And the triggers are inside of them, not your fault. It's not like what they'll say is, well, last Tuesday you said I was, I don't whatever, fill in the blank, when you didn't say that, right? And that really was just it for me because if you could say that to me, you don't love me. Meanwhile, they'll be saying something that you really never said. They'll extrapolate maybe something out of what you did say, twist it all around and make it something else, or it will just be something that never even really happened. Is it a wise thing to try to impulsively, especially or anywise, recontact the BPD Ex because you want to know any or all of these answers to these questions? No, because you're not going to get real answers to these questions. You might get the odd thing that sounds like, well, I don't know, but like, hey, and Yeah, I understand that better now, which is an abject lie. And so it'll be, whatever. And then maybe they want to rush you right into the bedroom, eh? So they gotcha, but nothing's changed. And they make false promises and they lie and they deceive, and not always like intentionally on purpose, but they're never going to be able to answer your questions because they don't know the answers to those questions. They don't have the self awareness to know how they've impacted you. They don't have the time in their own emotional drowning, internal churning nightmare of pain and agony they're suffering and relational difficulty and everything that's happening for them inside, but that they always think is everybody else's fault. They don't really, it seems like they hate you often, doesn't it? They don't really hate you, but they're projecting out the hate for the fact that you are the object other representation of the bad wounding parent in a devaluation split. You can do no right then. You can say nothing right then. You don't matter at all. And even in idealization, and they don't go back and forth. Once a major split to devaluation, a relationship rupture, whether they ghost, whatever they do, they come back, or you contact them, then you're just going back into the same cycle. And the thing that a lot of people don't realize about these cycles, because borderline can come back a hoover and sounding really sweet, sounding really genuine, sort of like it's what you want to hear, because you're getting all, you know, this amazing hit, a great feeling of the intermittent reinforcement, because, oh, they're back. Oh, you don't know who they are. You don't know that they're not who you thought they were, but like they're back. And I'm not trying to reduce this to only this for everybody, but for men and women alike, when you get your borderline ex back or you impulsively recontact them, you want all these answers. Pretty the intermittent reinforcement of boom, can we have physical relations, please? Then you're just awash in the intermittent reinforcement of what feels good, and now you're not really focused on all these questions or did anything change. It's like, oh, that just feels good again. And you're out of the rumination and you're out of the agony and you're starting to self abandon again, but you're not aware of that maybe. And oh, this is going to be great because you just escaped the pain that you were in from the breakup and the hey, what's going on, and all these questions that people have to this comment or mention. But let me just assure you, each and every time you try to hoover back or you reverse hoover, you're ghosting or dumping you or sort of discarding you, BPD Ex. A, you might not ever hear from them again. B, you might hear from them and intermittently, and then they might re-ghost you and all this. And the bottom line is all you're going to get. And I know some people, and I've had clients say, it's all I want, just one more time, just the physical relations one more time. Just got to feel so good. I want that one more time no matter what. And maybe that's true. That's how people feel. But at what cost? Because you're going to go back into a recycle. You're not going to get the real answers to these questions. You're not going to have your own either, probably at this point. Or even if you do, you're throwing them out the window for the intermittent reinforcement, just so you can stop hurting. And by the way, you can stop hurting for a little while, short period of time, sometimes hours or 24 hours or a day or two, maybe a bit longer. But then the next split to devaluation is coming. You're going to get raged at, or you're going to get silent treatment. Going to happen all over again. They're going to ghost you again. Some of the pattern ghosters, some discard and never come back, and you're never going to get their attention again. So you got to think about, what are you doing to yourself? Because the answers aren't with the borderline X or the on off again person. And they're not going to change without years and years of therapy. And you have codependency. How are you going to change that? Because it creates from both sides the trauma bond. It's not just the borderline. Yeah, they do all what they do, and it's horrific to people, but people still want them back. Trauma bond. And then there's what people with codependency bring to the trauma bond also. Because again, people with codependency are reenacting unconsciously repetition compulsions from their childhood as well. And what is really pulling you back into this relationship, you might just think it's the physical relations. You might just think it's because they're so hot and amazing and intense. And But all of that's why the relationship can't work out. Not that they're hot part, but that they don't have a self part, and that they're not who you fell in love with, and that you don't know who the heck it is you're loving and relating to. But with that intermittent reinforcement and physical relations again, people often forget that that's important, and that you're going to be hurting all over again at some point really quickly or a little bit later. So recycling and going around in circles, you're never going to get the answers to the questions, not the true real answers. And you're going to, every time you go through this, it makes the rumination worse. It increases your level of pain. You are losing yourself more, as you already don't know who this person really is, but you're going to ruminate on the good parts. And I'm not saying that people with BPD, even untreated and in the active throes of all of what borderline personality disorder is, and how it impacts other people traumatically, negatively, terribly, and not always because they do it on purpose, you're just not going to get what you really want to get. Now, the two levels of that, what you really think you want in here now, and the intermittent reinforcement, and where's your wounded inner child, and what's going on in you unconsciously from your childhood, because boy, that is unconsciously driving you back to this person even more than the hot, intense sex and the way they're gorgeous and all this other stuff, which I'm sure that's lovely and everything. But and especially younger generations really need to learn more about what healthy relationships can offer you, because these are not healthy relationships with people with BPD or on your side with codependency. Because it's great if you get the person, if you can be with another person down the road when you heal, recover from codependency, break the trauma bond with a borderline ex, stop going back for more and more and more agony and self-abandonment in the name of the intermittent reinforcement feels so good. I'm going to get this person back and they're really going to love me. Oh, no, you're not. Oh, no, they're not. But then people say and ruminate, well, I got to get back to that because that was so great. And you want out of the pain you're in right now, even though it's your pain and you need to take responsibility for it. But people are trying to escape that because it hurts like hell. And then the other aspect of it is, so you ruminate about all the positive and you miss that and you forget all the negative. And then on the other side of all this is the fact that it really hurts to try to move away, to get into a healing recovery journey, and to know that you can't go back. I had a client recently, sometime out of a divorce, and they really, they're co-parenting, and so they're having contact still. And he just keeps on wanting to read more into the text than is there, or try to, maybe there is a little bit of a flirt there. And what's that mean? But he already knows the relationship doesn't work. And then a person said to me a little bit ago, and it was interesting because they said for their kids' sake too, they really want this relationship to work again. So I mean, they're headed probably back to try a recycle if the borderline will let them. But as I said to a person, and I've said to many a person in many a session, you're just going to get spit out the other end again. It's not going to work. This person came back with, they said, well, but I really would like to put the family together. Like that's always been what I've been hoping for, no matter what, because I want my kids, after describing to me all what's going on with the kids, because kids getting really wounded by their mother, etc., with BPD, as all kids with a borderline mother will. And I was one once, borderline narcissist mother, and father was cluster B up the yin yang, and they were alcoholics. But like I can attest to that experientially. No, you're not going to ever make it okay with your borderline or narcissistic or borderline or narcissist or comorbidity, both or half and half of traits, mother. No. So he said, well, I want to get it back. I want to get her back and I want the marriage to work. I want to go back, even though they're divorced. I want to go back because I want to make my children, I want to make a family. I want my children to be whole. Children already aren't whole. Children have never been whole. So there's that aspect too. But the thing is, for all the reasons that it feels so compelling, you need to learn more about what's really happening to you and for you, because it's something in your unconscious that has more to do with you than how hot and intense and wonderful they are, because they're not so wonderful aside from that, are they? And yes, in younger generations, I think we live in a narcissistic culture. I'm not saying everybody's a narcissist at all, but more people have codependency. And the thing is that people are looking for that exceedingly good looking, hot woman, fantastically handsome, hot man, whatever. And sure, you want to be attracted to somebody. I get it, right? Obviously, when you're in a, you want to have a relationship with them, or you want to get married, you want to have a family with them. Yeah, you want to be attracted to them. So I'm not trying to say, hey, just suspend what you're attracted to and what you're not, right? No, but you want more than just the package that you're so excited by and the intensity and then everything else that isn't there. So sometimes what a lot of people have to learn through healing recovery, and I'm out here to work for you if I resonate with you, is how to understand and reframe the want of that intensity and the drama and the chaos that goes with it, and many more of the things that go with it. The actual want of that, even though you're not aware of that, and why that is like such a turn on, along with they're the hottest person that you've ever been with, and you got to have them back. Well, what about if you are a young man and this woman is, you want her to be the mother of your children and you want to have a family? Don't do that with a borderline. And what if you're a young woman and you want to have a family and you want to have a partner? You're looking for a hot dude, and but like you don't want to have your children with a cluster B male either, right? So younger people have to slow it down some because a lot's changed. I understand that. I'm an old fart and all that. I get it. But you have to also be looking for, and of course, people think these people are wonderful in the beginning, right? But no, because no real self is at home. But the thing is, you need to also be looking for the attributes, the traits in a human being that you're attracted to, but that could mean they'd be a good mom or dad to your kids. That could mean they'd be a good bet of partnership and relationship material, because we all know that not always just because of borderlines and narcissists or psychopaths, etc., but a lot of marriages end in divorce. But a lot end in divorce because of these personality disorders and codependency and these trauma bonds. So the thing is, how do you think? And I know once the hormones kick in and the attraction, and people just get lost right there. But you need to really think. And I've had lots of clients mention that they were aware of this red flag and kind of aware of something being off with that. And oh, when he or she didn't said all this stuff, I was like, what's going on here? But not enough to stop. And for a lot of people that are younger, maybe because this could be your first really important relationship or your first relationship. And then, like, what experience you have to try to ferret out what the heck's going on. But remember, you need to have, you need to be with somebody who has a self, first and foremostly, can show you some consistency, can share and be mutual and reciprocal with you, and somebody that has more to offer than just a hot body and great sex, because that's not going to make a family. Like, oh, it might make a family, but you know what I mean. It's not what family life, it's not what partnership, it's not what living a life together, raising a family. If that's all it's based on, look out, because that's going to blow the heck up, and it's going to be a disaster. Children are going to get hurt, and you're going to be somewhat tethered to a borderline or a narcissist if you have a child with them, for at least a good 18 years plus, right? And none of that's going to go well. So you have to really think beyond the moment. And then when people are in the off part of the relationship, you've been ghosted or whatever, or you don't know if it's a discard, you want answers to all those questions and more. And you still think this person you fell in love with just come back and like be who you thought they were. And they aren't even that person to begin with. Well, the other thing is just how much pain you're in when they're not there and what that feels like, and the rumination, and the cognitive dissonance, and the yearning, and the not being able to concentrate on anything else. And you want out of the pain. And people think, I'll run back there, I'll get him or her back, and oh, then I'll feel better. But you're not just in pain because of the borderline or the trauma bond with the borderline or the narcissist. You're in pain because you have codependency. You're in pain because of a lot of what happened with them, but there's a whole other level to it. And that other level that you need, I'm out here to work with you to help you to understand, come to know, work through, and heal. And that's why you have codependency. something that happened in childhood. Doesn't have to be a bad mom or a cluster B mom or dad. And the thing is, with that woundedness, there's something in your unconscious that drives you back to need the borderline way more than you think you need them consciously for what you're focused on. Going back to make contact with them or letting them hoover you back is a recipe for more of the same. And yeah, that includes that little bit of intermittent reinforcement. But each time you get that and you're in the circumstance as it begins to all break down again, because the borderline will devalue, split to devalue you again, and maybe ghost you again or whatever. But in that split to devaluation, they will abuse you. They will hurt you. They will blame you. They will keep on pummeling you because so many people with codependency believe that everything the borderline said is like it's all your fault and you did that stuff. And no, it's not all your fault and you didn't do that stuff. So the key thing is knowing that when you're ghosted or discarded, when people often come to start working with me and they're in that teetering place of they might go back any second, whether they know it or not, I can tell. And many people express many different contradictory feelings, of course, or thoughts and feelings that are contradictory. It's not going to work out. And when you've already been betrayed, especially if they monkey branch, etc., but when you've already been betrayed and they've just discarded you or ghosted you, they've betrayed you, they've abused you, you're not experiencing love. You think it's love, but it's abuse. And where there's abuse, there's no love. And the other part of that is, and the more you go back for more of that, you lose yourself more and more and more and more. Seeing more comments on this channel, I'm sure all over the internet, but on this channel, and I'm having more clients who come to work with me that they're barely hanging on to their lives. And I'm talking about people who've been with the borderline or the narcissist, not just people with BPD or what have you. More people say, comment recently on the channel here, I don't know how to go on. I can't focus on my job. I just don't even feel like I want to be here anymore. This is how much you're going to lose yourself, if not the first time, certainly after many recycled tries. And by the way, when you're in that hurting place, they just ghosted you, or you're not sure if it's a discard, the relationship ruptured right there. People with BPD have no ability to repair relational ruptures. Ruptures that are maybe even just split to devaluations within a relationship still, no repair of anything, no closure, no answering questions, no making it make sense for you, no caring about you or your feelings. And where are they when you need them? Oh, nowhere to be found. That's when they'll ghost you just because, like, what do you mean, like your mom's sick, or you need support because you broke your ankle, or your best friend is having heart. They don't care. No, they're gone and they can't handle that stuff. It's really important to know that the ghosting or the discard, the abuse, the betrayal, that's the end right there. Oh, doesn't feel like it, does it? But it is the end. No matter how many times you go back, it's going to be the first end was the end, and then this time and that time and that time. And this is what leaves people in utter agony, not wanting to live anymore and feeling like there's no way forward. And so much of this, there's so many reasons for this, but so much of it you will understand as that's the hottest woman or hottest man you've ever been with, the intensity, the drama, and you don't realize, most people don't know for quite a while, or unless they work with someone like myself, that there's something else entirely from your childhood, from inside of you, in this dynamic that becomes a trauma bond with the borderline, but both parts are trauma bond, codependent side, borderline side, that there's something driving you back to this person who you don't even know and does not love you and can't love you and etc. And you need to get in therapy and work out what is that. And if you want to book a session with me, by the way, because you just want to vent, because you just want to tell somebody what happened, because you want to know, you want to try to answer some of those questions for yourself, I can help you when I hear more details. But, and by the way, as much as I do say what I say in my content, of course it's what I know to be true for people. But there's the odd exception out there, but I don't want to give you false hope. But the bottom line is when I do work with clients and people come, to work with me, I'm not going to be just saying to you every 10 seconds, well, you got to leave or you got to go no contact. You got to do. That's not how it goes. So I'm there to help you, to explore, to answer all your questions, and then some, to share whatever you might want to ask me about. Like, I have a lot of clients that ask about, you've been working with clients for 35 years. So what have you seen mostly, like, when it comes to this, that, the other thing? So you don't always have to think that you're leaving the borderline for good and going no contact to work with me at all. You can come wherever you're at, in whatever the process, whatever the situation that's happening is. Just be yourself, be where you are, and we can talk about it. And I can be helpful to people in many iterations and steps when they may still be with the borderline, maybe going back to the borderline, maybe on and off and on and off. So just know I'm out here to work with you. If you resonate with me, there are no rules. You don't have to be doing this, that, or the other thing. And so, with all that said, then just realize that your impulse to contact the borderline X or to answer the Hoover, etc., is because you're trying to get out of the immediate pain you're in right now, which isn't all about the borderline. Mostly, maybe, and the trauma bond, but it has other roots, and there's other things you need to know about how did you get there and why can't you stop going back. You need to work with somebody to at least start working on that, to have the hope and learn the way forward, so you won't keep going through the same meat grinder, coming out less and less, having less and less of yourself. So hope that was helpful. And